Welcome back to Season 5 of The Rock Movers, the podcast for empowered women who are navigating life's biggest transitions, challenges, and moving life's biggest rocks. I'm your host, Karen Gray, and I can't wait for us to get started with today's guest and episode. Are you ready? Let's move some rocks. Hey Rock Movers, welcome to today's Season 5 guest, Gao Motsemme. She is a Change Management Certified Balanced Leadership Coach. She is also a human MRI and psychic surgeon. And if you've never heard that term, you're going to learn all about that on today's show, where we talk about the huge rocks of generational trauma and how if we don't do the work ourselves and take what she says is an initiation into our healed self, then we get to carry those traumas to the next generation. And her unique ability to tune into our energetic fields, scan, and work on patterns. She gives us a little bit of an example of what that looks like today by reading me. So that was so exciting. I know that you're going to be inspired by her. Her voice is just so calming. Her presence is just illuminating. And I can't wait to get right to today's episode with our guest, Gao Motsemme. Okay, welcome back to the Rock Movers. You never know what today's going to bring, and this week's guest is going to absolutely, I have no doubt, just rock our socks off because she is a psychic surgeon, as you heard. And so we're going to dive into what is that, what does that mean, and how did her rocks bring her to this place in life. So thank you so much, Gao Motsemme, for being here. And I'm just so excited to have this conversation. Thank you for connecting with me. We met on Podmatch, which Alex has such a great format over there. So thank you, Alex Sanfilippi, for creating this platform and for connecting us. So we get to talk about your rocks today. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Karen. I'm also excited as you are.
It's going to be great. So give our listeners a little bit of backstory on rocks that brought you, that happened in your life, the challenges, traumas that happened in your life that brought you to this place where you are today, and how you found this beautiful calling that you're now walking through.
That's a great question. And before I can start, I would love to extend my greetings to your audience. Gao Motsemme, as Karen said, is my name. I come from Southern Africa in Botswana, but I've been residing in Germany for 10 plus years now. And Dumelang Lokai. And Dumelang, it's our greetings back home in my native language. And when we say Dumelang in direct translation is more like agree. So what are you agreeing to? Especially when you come into Rock Movers. What is it that moved you to say, Rock Movers is the platform that I want to be in? And today as you're listening to this, what is it that caused you to say, I'm agreeing to that? And I'm open to allow that to penetrate me. Lokai is, where are you? Locate yourself. Are you here with us fully, body, mind, and spirit? Or part of you still holding into what shouldn't have happened? Or somebody shouldn't have said that? You know, the bills that needs to be paid? You know, so with that, I'm just inviting you to just come back and be with us. And when I say come back, I mean being in your body and let go. Because I know, like Karen said, we met in Podmatch. There has been amazing experts I trust in this platform. You know a lot, you heard a lot. But just for this moment, I'm showing up without knowing anything. Because this is the first time I'm having this conversation in Rock Movers. And I invite you to not know anything as well. Because transformation happens when we choose not to know. And often we know a lot, and that becomes a hindrance to our growth. So may we not know. And when I say may we not know, I'm saying connect to your body. Take a breath and feel sensation. Allow your body to communicate to you, not you telling your body what to feel. Because when you do that, you are digging into the old templates that you've been creating your life from.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
So back to
I'm
your
so happy you're
question.
here. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah. What brought me here? That's a great question, because I come from a very traditional family. And I say this, and not to brag, but that's just who I was. I was born a queen, and I knew that from childhood. So when I walked into that family, I came in with what's happening, what do we have to go? This, like, all energy and excited about life. And before I knew it, I was just told, you're not like any of my children. That's not acceptable. You don't have to have your opinion, you know. So with all that was happening, even when you feel and you express how you feel, because that was me, I was just told, like, all sorts of things. Actually, my nickname, it was more like, oh, it's the crazy one. That one is crazy. That was me. That one is a rebel. That was me. So I'm a woman who faced, I would say, not being accepted, because that's a big wound that we carry, So even it's quite interesting, because when you talk about what I do, being a human MRI psychic surgeon, would say I knew what I knew when I was a child, but the environment that I was brought in, it was more the people who did not accept themselves. Because for someone not to accept you as you are is because they have not accepted themselves. So when I shared what I was sharing, what was coming through for me, there was this, oh my God, you're going to be a traditional doctor. You need to go to church so that you don't have to practice that. So, okay, because we are told who to be, what to do, whether it's by the tribe, the family, the society, the religious system, the political system, the educational system. So I was just told, shut that off, go to church. And I followed what I was told, as we all do, because when we are children, the authority is our family. So I followed that, but along the way, it did not align. And I became that rebel. It's kind of like, you used to go to church, but now I don't know what happened. That happened. So with this wound, as much as I stood my ground of wanting to be me, because I still remember in my rebel childhood thing, my mom once said that, and I think I was tired of hearing that. I looked at her and I said, can be like your other children. That's why my different. My name is How. It's different. And she looked at me and she laughed, but it was the laughter of, what the fuck am I going to do with this child? It was just that I don't know, why did God give me this problem? So it was that kind of thing. But along the way, I think I lost the fight, because at some point there is that human conditioning or pattern of wanting to belong. So I wanted to belong. I stopped fighting, especially when I went out, especially when it comes to my gift. When you share with people, this is what happened, or I saw this before it happened. Kind of like, that's weird. Don't tell me anything or whatever. So you don't want to be weird. And I had to silence that either through alcohol. And that was the pattern that was actually at home. I found myself in toxic relationship. And when I say it, I'm like, I dated the version of my father. That's the love that I knew. When I say I was daddy's girl, because often when we say, oh, my parents love me. And people actually at times they defend that my parents love me, so don't tell me that I've got a problem with love or anything. My father loved me. I was daddy's girl. Whatever that I wanted, he would do it for me. And besides that, he was emotionally unavailable. He had alcohol addiction issues, and he died when I was 14. So all in all, there was kind of like all this pattern and also a bit of abandonment issue. So I found myself in relationships where they were toxic. There was alcohol addiction.
You were trying to replicate that, that
Yeah,
familiar.
that's what I knew. That's what I knew.
Same.
Yeah, yeah. So and it's quite interesting, especially when you talk about toxic relationships or even these patterns that we inherit from our family, our ancestors. We think it's only, okay, they show up strongly in relationship as a romantic relationship, but they are present as well when it comes to business relationship, when it comes to professional relationship, because I was dealing with a version of my mother at work. That was my boss,
Yeah.
called me out, criticized me in an open space. And all the time I shrank, became smaller, felt less than. I lost myself in that. But the wake up call was when I was separated from my children. That's when I felt powerless. I didn't know who I was. But that was the moment when the big question came through. Who are you without your children? Actually, I had the nudge to write and I started writing. When I was writing, I got the message, but it was more from kind of like an ego thing, where I'm thinking
Yeah.
it's for others. So who are you without your partner, your mother, your father, your religion, your house, all the things? Because I lost a lot of stuff along the way. I lost my identity, which is my identity was my corporate position, my work, the company that I was working for. I lost all of that. And now my children, the question was, what am I doing here? What's the point of being here? What's the point of giving birth to these children if I cannot mother them? That was my pain. And the question, now I'm writing all these things. Who are you? I remember when it said, who are you without your children? I threw that pen and I stood up and I said, this message is for me. And I broke down and cried. And the next question was, but who am I? And that's the moment when the real me, the process of that emerged. Because what was happening was releasing who I thought I was, who I told I was. And it's painful because I was holding into, like, this mask it became me. I thought it was me. So to release that is painful. That's the pain that we go through. That's what we call challenges. But in my world, it's an initiation. That's what I needed for me to be able to hold space for other people who are walking this path, for other people who are dying in silence, right? Who are
Yeah.
afraid of speaking about their generational pain. They have silenced it and they're dying in silence. But when you choose to heal and speak about it, you are giving other people a chance that you don't have to die in silence. And you are also
Can I,
being in strength.
oh my gosh, can I pause you right there? Because you said something and I don't want to glaze over it. I want people to sit with this thought that the transition and the releasing, as painful as it was, you called it an initiation. So it's that initiation into the healing, the initiation into who you're called to be, the initiation into your higher version. That is such a reframe and such a gift of vision to see it as an initiation. Because I'm going to call it Western world, an initiation means you're being brought into something that's elevated and elite and higher than, right? It's only for certain people. So when you're being initiated, right? So we do that for fraternities and sororities and clubs, and, it's this elite few, but you can have your own initiation with yourself, your higher power, this version of you, this healed version of you. Just that vision. I'm getting goosebumps because that right there, I marked that like that's a mic drop moment, this golden nugget that if you're listening to this and you already hear this, you don't hear anything else, being and going through an initiation to your healed self is the greatest gift that you can give. I love that so much. I didn't want to, I heard that and it just kind of like soaked into my soul. I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Thank you for saying that. I'm sorry, continue with your story, but that was just beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually what is coming to mind, just to add into that, because for a long time in Africa, there was that tradition of being initiated into manhood or womanhood.
Right.
That happens when, for instance, when you get your first menstruation, so it was like a sacred thing that is treated differently, where now you are moving from being a girl to a woman. So,
Right.
and you can imagine that if it's the first time you see blood, it's kind of like, oh my God, what is happening? There is confusion and
Yeah.
all that. But that's like a symbol of that human womanhood. So, and when you're
Right.
going through life, it's kind of like a moment of confusion, because confusion is not a bad thing. Confusion is kind of like the moment where you're letting go of the old, but the new is not yet here. even though at
Mm-hmm.
times we just like resist it, like we want to
Right.
know, we want to be in control. Yeah. So,
Always. Yeah. Our human instinct is to control and grab tighter, tighter, tighter. And
oh,
sometimes the gift is to let go and to just see it for what it is to be. And that's where the trust comes in. And that's when the releasing of this now initiation to happen. That is just I'm just like, where all this goes. I'm just like, this is a whole new rabbit hole for me. And that's what I call rabbit holes. Like, it's another thing to explore and to go deeper on. I just think it's so beautiful. So
yeah.
thank you.
And and
Yeah.
and what you said as well, like as humanity, we love to hold into something. And that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what causes pain. We resist the
Mm.
process. We refuse to walk the walk. Yet at a soul level, we have agreed to that path. And I always say this, I was saying this to somebody a day or two ago, and I said, I'm not going to work with you if you refuse to be the problem. Because if you accept that you are a problem, you are also the solution. But if you're all you think somebody out of you is a problem, then that
Mm-hmm.
person has power, unfortunately. But if you want to own your power, be the problem because you are the solution. If you resist the problem, you are resisting the solution.
Wow. Yeah. That is, oh my gosh. That is, that is so good. Because if you refuse to accept your responsibility for your own life and you acquiesce it over to everyone else, yeah, you can't take the power to change it. That's love that
And
so
and
much.
often even when you're talking about you, because you is not just individual. When I
Mm-hmm.
speak to you as Karen Gray, it's you. And when you look at your same name, it's a name that has been present for many generations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that you cannot just be you, it's you and the people that went before you, right? So when we say you are the problem, it's kind of like, I didn't do anything. You may have not done anything, but somebody did something at some point. This is why this pain has been passed
Mm-hmm.
on. Or somebody did not do anything, and that is actually the
Mm.
problem. And you also sitting there and
Yeah.
not doing anything,
And
and
you're
you
carrying
thinking that
that.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't help anyone, you know. And just or into that, when it comes to our ancestral wounds, pains, and all the trauma, they're not
Mm-hmm.
just us. They're our superpower. It's the unimaginable strength, if at all we accept it.
Yeah.
And when we do it, it's not even about judgment. Because here's the thing. This is like something, talk about the path that I walked and some of the things that I experienced and some of the things that I still experience. Because if you're coming from a family, probably everybody's okay with what has been happening, which is kind of like
Mm-hmm.
this story in my case here. But being the crazy one, I was more feeling into the wound and everything that has been pushed under the
Yeah.
rug. So it's kind of like I was picking up everything. And then when it's too much, I let it out. Like all the anger, I let it out on them. It's kind of like, woo, we don't want to take
Yeah.
that. But yet it's what they are holding into in secret. And the question
Mm-hmm.
that I was asked even by my family is, what's the point of talking about things that happened? Because it happened, it's over and done with. So can we move on? And I said, yes, our parents may be gone. And it's not gone because the past still informs the present. For me, when I look at my parents, my relationship, it's exactly I can sit down with my mom and say, I'm you, you are
Mm-hmm.
me. We walk the same path, and I actually got to a point where I was also shown everything that happened in her life, things that she never even spoke about. Right. So it's
Mm.
not about talking about this from judgment. It's about, like I
Yeah.
said, it's the strength. They knew what they knew. They did what they could with what they had, like in my
Right.
case. So I embraced the power and the strength that they had to be able to go through what they went through. But now I'm the one who's holding the button. The question is, am I going to go to the finish line when I'm going to drop it here and allow my
Mm-hmm.
children and my grandchildren to start from the beginning? We've got a choice.
I've heard this saying, and I think it lends to what you're saying. When we talk about, or here, I guess in America, maybe, um, this or that ran in my family, like alcoholism ran in my family, narcissism ran in my family until it ran into me. And then when it ran into me, like when it got through this generation, that generation, and it came to me to hold it, I get to choose whether it continues to run into the next generation, or I get to stop it, to heal it, to block it, to cut it, and to start fresh. And so that saying of things, ran in our DNA, physical abuse, sexual abuse, abuse of any nature, alcoholism abuse, all of that, we have a choice. I think is the main lesson here is that we have a choice whether we continue to carry this or whether we remove that rock, lay it down, and then carry forward the healing, an initiation into the healing, begin that and carry the healing forward for the next generations and teach our children about wholeness and being that whole being that they were called to be, not this fractional being of who they've been carrying forward. Oh my gosh, that's such a gift. So tell me today, as a, did you say MRI psychic surgeon? Okay. Explain what that is. Help me understand that better. And tell us how does that, obviously it's a gift. So it's not like you went to school to learn it, but how do you do that? And how do you use that to help others move their rocks?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a gift. It's my ancestral gifts. It's a gift that many run away from, which also is like the cause of pain. Because when you run away from you, like, and it's kind of like actually talking about that. Because I had a moment in my life where it's kind of like I was like in this vision and I was taken out of my body because the message was, it's time for you to do what you came here to do. So it's like, what did I come here to do? So
I thought it was, right?
So I was taken out of my body. And as I was taken out of my body, I kind of like connected, I would say, with everyone across the globe because I was overwhelmed with pain, with tears, with screams. It was just too much. Yeah. And after I felt that, and it's quite interesting when I was feeling that, I also connected with I would say my soul before I actually came here. Like before I was conceived, I connected with that aspect, crying, I don't want to be born in this world. That was me. And then from there, I was brought back into my body. And the question was, do you want to continue in this world with your gift and not use it? While so many people.
Wow. So that even if you haven't experienced that, you can still take that vision and that lesson and apply it, because we all have a calling, we all have a gift, whatever that is. And if we're not walking in it, there are those that we're here to serve, and how selfish of us to not ultimate, right? We talk so much about self-care and, being selfless, yet we don't want to step into this and do hard things, presumably hard, because they're unfamiliar, or we don't want to sell, or we don't want to do whatever. No, we're here to serve. And when we don't step into the true calling and serve as we're supposed to, the disservice that we do and the people that we leave unhealed, unhelped. Wow. But to really connect to their pain, physically, emotionally, spiritually, I can imagine how that must have felt. That's amazing. So now today you're walking in this.
And that's what I do, actually. It's quite interesting because when I connect with somebody, kind of like the body speaks to me. We may be having a conversation, but the body will communicate. There is pain here, there is here, there is all the things that are just happening in the body. That's what I get to just know. It's kind of like I step into somebody's aura and I get to feel what they feel. So for instance, if I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh, I'm just good, because a lot of people are not used.
So can you see it like virtually? Like right now you can see or feel mine?
What came through for you? Are you comfortable with me sharing?
Yeah, this is exciting. Like, I feel so naked.
I won't say much, but what just kind of like imprinted on you, like the first thing was more the wounded masculine, especially more like ancestral, that's where it's coming from, the wounded masculine. That's what imprinted. And then there's a bit of like your power. It's kind of like you are not fully owning it. Like there's a bit of, I don't know what to call it, but there is something there where you're not like fully owning it. That's like, those are the things that like first imprint. It was that. And here's the thing, even when you follow this, for instance, I may have an imprint first thing. Maybe I just go to the heart first. And then I'm talking about heart. And the more I go there, it's kind of like tracing, it's like a map. Okay, I'm here, then the body will lead me again. Often I can start with the heart and then end up maybe with the in the womb, or someone is coming with to me. I have this pain here, and the first thing that will come to is kind of like sexual abuse. Like a lot of things just stand out. That's what I do. I kind of like get an imprint of everything that is happening. If it's lots of emotions that have not been processed and all that, I can step in and someone is like, I've never cried in my life, and I'm like, you don't know, because right now I want to drop everything and just scream. Like that's how that inner child feel. Or at times it can be the inner child that come through so strongly. For instance, if I have my plan, if it's a breakthrough call, I'm like, I'm gonna ask these questions. And when I'm starting to ask questions, the inner child is kind of like, forget that. Here I am, this is what is going on, and we just go through that path. So that's what happens. And when we work together, I just transmute that. I remove that. It's more like going to surgery, because you feel it in your body. If you are used to operating and functioning from these wounds, they become you. So when you remove something that's kind of like your body and your DNA and the cellular level have been created around that, then you remove that, the body's kind of like, whoa, what's happening? That's why sometimes people immediately they start having the detox, like running stomach or just puking, nauseous and all that, or they just feel extremely tired. So it's more like I always say, if you do the work, treat it like you just went to do the surgery. When your body asks you to rest, do that. And then afterwards, that's when now the vitality and all the orgasmic energy come through. So it's
Wow.
really deep work. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does this compare to, I'm sure you're familiar with Reiki as well. How does it compare to Reiki? If someone is hearing this and they're like, I'm trying to envision this, but how does that compare? Because that would be my comparison, is I'm familiar with a Reiki
Great.
healing. So is that similar?
It's not really, it's really similar, because Reiki is more like using, like, for instance, that symbols, and then you use your hands to put your hands and see what you're feeling in the body and all that. And I would say Reiki is more like, in my opinion, is more like kind of like I'm gonna do what I'm told to do and see what is gonna happen. And what I say, especially when it comes to this deep work, is that, for instance, if I'm connecting with you and I'm just gonna put my hands and like, oh, okay, I'm feeling heat here, so I'm just gonna say whatever or just visualize whatever. And it's more like I said, it's more like you're blindfolded. And the second thing is, if I'm working on you, which is one of the things that I realize a lot of people, when they come to me, I've done a lot of work and nothing has worked.
Yeah.
And often the reason is because they have done a lot of work, but they are not in the body, right? So when I say I step into your auric field, if you are not in the body, I know you are not in the body. Even when, like, for instance, there are some people who are fully disconnected, like, it's kind of like their soul is not in the body fully.
Yeah.
So when you trying to do the work, where does that go? It's kind of like it's all here because you are not in, and there may be a lot of things that needs to be done for you to come back into the body, and we work on you while you're in the body. That's when you get to see the results that are sustainable. Otherwise, it's kind of like I feel good for some time, and then from there, it's not. It's like it goes away, So you have to.
Yeah.
It's more like codependency, but in healing, actually, I see this a lot. Where it's kind of
Wow.
like I have to depend on someone for me to see results. But my work is more like I'm going to bring you back in the body, and I'm going to release whatever that may be interfering with you being in the body. And even when it comes to, like, for instance, my work is, it activates your purpose and your gifts and all that. Because for you to know what is here, whether it's receiving the codes that you are meant to receive, spiritual codes, intuition, and all the gifts that you are meant to have, you get to be in the body. So at times I work with people who they have no idea that they are, like, spiritually gifted. And then we start doing the work, and all of a sudden, I'm just gonna ask them, tell me what is going on, what you seeing, and they're just like flowing. It's kind of like, I don't know what the heck is happening. I just see all these things. I don't know if I'm making them up. You have always been gifted, and you are doing the work, but you are doing it without knowing you're doing it. Because often when you don't embrace your gifts, like consciously embracing them and knowing that you have them, you'll find yourself being in the rescuer person, like in relationship. I want to rescue this person. You are attracting the broken people because you're not using your gifts like for the people that need it. So you are finding the broken people and wanting to rescue them. And often again, the part of you wants to get love. Maybe when I've done this, they will love me. So you do the work unconsciously. But again, when you take other people's stuff, you can't transmute what is not yours. So often
Right.
people are holding these things that are not theirs. So if I'm trying to do the work and you are holding the baggage that is not yours, and I'm kind of like, okay, fine, I'm feeling something here. Is it yours or is it not yours? And I'm trying to release it. It may feel lighter a little bit, but then because
Mm.
it's not yours, it's still gonna be there until you release it and connect to yourself, which is a lot. And another thing, again, even with me, my work is also big on sexual energy. Whether there's been sexual abuse or not, the core of it is most people are disconnected from this energy. It's not about I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship and
Yeah.
I'm married or whatever. It's having an individual relationship with this energy, because it's a life force energy. It's the energy that creates all life. It's the creativity. It's connected to the abundance that we need. Is
Mm-hmm.
what makes us say yes to life. So a lot of work does not go there, and my work
Yeah.
is big on this. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So many questions are popping up, and now I'm so curious about like all of my stuff. I'm like, okay, what about me? Like, oh my gosh, okay, I obviously need to go deeper here. So if someone is listening to this, because we're kind of coming to the end of our time, if someone is listening to this and they're just so curious and they want to explore more about what you do, I know that you have, let me put this up here. You have your website, because I've gone there.
Yeah.
And then you also have this. Is this where people can book to schedule a session, or tell me more about how they can get connected?
Yeah. The orgasmic clarity is orgasmic clarity. Like that's where you jump in and we're going to see what is happening. And
Mm-hmm.
when we get on the call, like we dive deep into what is happening,
Mm-hmm.
because everything that you desire, if you want a relationship, maybe you want to be successful in business and everything has its own
Mm-hmm.
frequency. So if I'm
Yeah.
speaking to you about a certain thing, it's registered in the body. So if I'm like here, I'm just speaking in general, it's kind of like, okay, fine, I know that, but it's not clear because everyone's issues are different. Everyone's
Yeah.
ancestors are different. We've got our own different
Right.
wounds and pains and all that. So orgasmic clarity is where you can book a call, and we can have a conversation, and or just go to what do you call it, to the website.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get the message there, because I want people who get on the call to be committed to finding more about my programs, because this is deep work. Getting into people's auric fields, I would say, it's dangerous, because if you are holding into negative entities and all that, and you kind of like, okay, like it's kind of like I'm gonna get there and there are all these things here, and then like, okay, I just wanted to know, and you are out. I've already tapped into that. So it's something that I don't want to do if you're not willing to. This is why I don't often offer once-off sessions, but
Uh-huh.
I've started to. I bet you saw a link where I said, if at all you just want to do the work or you are not sure, just book a call and then we'll dive deep and do the thing. I've offered
Yeah.
that for first time people. I normally don't do that, and I don't know how long I'm gonna do that, but I'm doing it
Okay.
for the fact that I don't wanna be and kind of like, because at times it's energy. If I go
Right.
in and there is negative entities and all the things, it's kind of like, oh my God, like, because all these negative entities, this is when it comes to self-sabotage, procrastination. At times it's these energies, these entities that are
Mm.
interfering. You want to make a decision, you want to take that step, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, I don't know I don't know who I would be
Yeah.
without you, and you also don't know who you would be
Yes.
without the wound or the pain. So
Yeah.
if I come in and they're like, oh my God, they're gonna release us, and then you hold it kind of like steers that fear, as we know,
Right.
when something is afraid, it's kind of like causing more havoc and chaos. So this
Right.
is what I'm trying to also avoid for people. If you are
I
comfortable with
love
your
that.
pain, I respect that.
Yeah, so I've talked about this recently because there is, I mean, I coach and work with a lot of people on the self-sabotage and that feeling of imposter syndrome and just the story that we create around that because of our past. And oftentimes there is this, and like you get some sort of satisfaction from holding on to that, almost like I'm going to be a martyr, I'm going to sit here in this. And because it's comfortable, it's familiar, brings me another result. So it's almost like a kink. I've used
Yeah.
that term,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of get off on having this because now I get to have the poor pity me story, or it justifies why I can do other things, whatever that other thing is. I can be defensive or bitchy or crappy or whatever. Like it justifies the other things in my life. Or I get certain attention because of this. I get to
Yeah.
be the victim. I get to sit with this. Or I don't. I get to play small, and it keeps me safe. Right? There's
Yeah.
that as well. So
Sometimes it's vows as well, vows of suffering. It's kind of like
yes.
where there is, like you said, I love that this is rock movers.
Mm-hmm.
So at times it's like you are being bound by this rock, you are
Yeah.
linked, you are connected, you are logged into it, and it
Mm-hmm.
keeps you together, or even
Yeah.
keeping you together with the people that you longed the love from the most. So the fear
Mm-hmm.
is, if I let go, then what will be the connection that I'll have? Because
Right.
as children, we trade our energy to we're taking our parents'
Mm-hmm.
baggage. Maybe when I take off your load, you're gonna have space to love me. So
Mm-hmm.
if the only thing that connects you to your mother is the pain, then the only thing that connects you to your father is this alcohol addiction or whatever. It's kind of like, or food addiction, or even sex addiction. Because speaking
Right.
of sex, I don't know, this is like coming through so strongly. To say, even when it comes to this sex thing, let me say there is someone who is like sexually addicted, like they're having porn, watching porn, whether it's in the toilet or whatever. The energy, I always say this, is not about what you saw consciously happening. It's the energy of what is not spoken about. If someone goes
Mm-hmm.
into the toilet and they're doing what they're doing, and a child comes in there, they're gonna feel aroused as well, and they don't even know what is happening. They're already picking up on this abuse, on this addiction, and they do it
Mm-hmm.
without even knowing where it comes from. Because the energy always opens the door before we open our
Mm.
mouth. What energy is saying hi?
Yeah. So the screen kind of paused for a second. I just want to, can you restate that last little bit? So if you're in the secret and what, can you say that
Yeah.
part again just in case we missed it?
Yeah, like I said, for people who have the sex addiction problem,
Mm-hmm.
often the toilet is kind of like something that is known, that they'll go there and do whatever they do. Because at
Okay.
times, because of this porn addiction or whatever,
Because they're
they
hiding.
don't. Yeah, they're
Mm.
hiding. They don't have that with their partner or whatever. So you may have children around, and then as the young as a child is, when they go to the place where you're doing that, in your own hiding place, they feel that energy. That's what they're taking in. It's imprinted in them. And then they
Mm.
become that without knowing where that comes from. So
Wow.
energy
So
is,
that
is
energy is
key
passed
here.
along.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's scary. I mean, we know that little eyes are watching, but the fact that our energy impacts everyone around us because of that aura, because the energy is transmitted through everything. Wow, just so impactful. Well, thank you for sharing everything. I think this is absolutely just so fascinating. Obviously, another rabbit hole that I am like so excited to explore and go down and learn more about. And I just want to thank you for being so vulnerable, for doing this healing first, for going first and doing the work, going through the initiation, and then inviting us to come along with you on this. It's such a beautiful journey. And your voice is so calming, and you just radiate this love and light. And I'm so glad to have you in my world now. So thank you so much for trusting me with this show and this interview and conversation. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks for holding
And
space for this kind of conversations to be had.
that's so important. So important. I think the longer we hide stuff in the dark, the stronger of a foothold it has on our lives and our hearts and our families and our generations. And I feel like that is part of what's wrong with the world and in America, especially right now with our politics. Everything is done in secret, and we don't call it what it is and bring it to the light. So I believe my calling is in part to bring things to the light. So thank you for going there with me.
My
And
pleasure.
so grateful to have you on. Please connect with Gao, and please take the extra steps to pursue your own healing to move those rocks, just know that whatever you're doing, you don't have to do them alone. There are people like our beautiful guest today and myself here to walk through it with you. But keep moving those rocks. Wow, wasn't today's guest amazing? I hope that you enjoyed them as much as I did, and I hope that you got something super valuable. So just for being here, I want to gift you free access to my Reclaim Your Confidence course. It's a mini course, short 5 modules. It's impactful, yet it's not super heavy. So use VIP 2024 as a code to get free access to this course just for showing up and listening to this entire episode. And I also want to know, what are you getting from this? What would you like to see? What are future episodes? Who do we need to be talking to? Who has some amazing rocks that they want to share? And that's by sharing, commenting, and subscribing to the Rock Movers, and then following me over on social media. We want to stay connected. We want to be a part of your world, and I want to invite you to be a part of mine. If you'd like to book a call, go a little bit deeper into some of these topics, you can find a link to book that call on CoachKarenGray.com. You're always invited to join me there, and I can't wait to dive into deeper conversations with you. That's my way of giving back and saying thank you for being a part of our rock moving community. Until the next episode, or until we jump on the call, have a great day and keep moving those rocks.